Welcome back to my channel, you guys. It's me, Samzy News, and I'm so happy to be here to provide a recap for one of my all-time favorite Bravo Housewives shows, which is The Teresa Show, also known as Real Housewives of New Jersey. This show has been off for like almost a year. I don't even know how long, but we have been hearing about the season for like 6 months. So much has happened, and I am just ready to dive into this recap. We know it's going to be a huge season. Maybe some revelations. I mean, family drama, a huge big wedding, and I cannot wait to see it all. But before I deliver the recap, please like, subscribe, and also leave a comment after you hear my recap and provide any feedback, comments, whatever that you have regarding this show. So we start off with just like a little recap, how they usually show what everybody's been up to. Teresa's turning 50, so she's getting her house ready. Melissa and Joe are renovating. Jennifer Aiden, she broke her foot, and she's just kind of like relaxing at the house with her kids, and they're, getting her water, and they're kind of teasing her, giving her a little bit of a hard time, which as she's a mom of 5, I know it's just probably killing her to be unable to physically get up and just do the things she does. But we know Jen has some help, and that's fantastic, honestly, that she has that. She also has her mom staying with her, and Jen actually thinks that she might have what they call the evil eye on her, because she's had just like a series of unfortunate events where she feels it's just bad luck, and that it's just someone has put something on her. So she's had Margaret expose her affair, which was like super triggering and hurtful for her last year, and just brought up a lot of stuff she had repressed. She's had her Ferrari stolen when her and Bill were in Miami last year. And then while she was on vacation with Teresa in Tulum celebrating Teresa's 50th birthday, she actually broke her toe. So she thinks someone has is jealous and has put this evil eye on her, and she thinks that person is Dolores. And we're gonna hear a lot more about her and Dolores. Speaking of Dolo, with her big old booty, my goodness, girl, that thing is banging. Dolores is happy and smitten. She's got a new boo. He is Irish, and he is just her lucky, charm. It's okay to say that. And she's so happy with him. And, she's got, she's still living at the house, and always, I think her other property too. And Frank shows up, and he is still living with her ex, David, but he is confronting Dolores about not seeing her as much because she's been hanging out with her new man, Paul. And Dolores is really explaining that, she's really putting some boundaries because Paul is making her. He's like, look, I don't have a problem with Frank. That's your baby daddy. That's your ex-husband. But I'm your man. You don't need to run to Frank for everything. So she's really fostering that privacy with her and Paul. And I like that. I mean, I really do like Big Frank, and I think he's a great addition. But I feel like with Dolores having a relationship, finally putting herself forward, yeah, she needs to tell everybody to take a hike. So they get into discussion about how she hasn't talked to Jen since Jennifer called her out at the reunion for being a bad friend, for not having her back, for kind of flip-flopping when Margaret exposed the affair. And, they just are kind of like, well, whatever, we haven't talked, and we'll see how that interaction goes when we do talk. Then we're gonna, let's see, we go over to Melissa and Joe's, and Melissa is gonna be having a big 80s party. And at first she was like, if anybody knows Melissa Gorga, they know that I love the 80s. I'm like, Melissa, you're almost the same age as me. I love to claim that I'm 80s baby too, but we're really 90s is more 2000s, come on. But she did say, and I had to give it to her, she does have older sisters, and she looked up to them, and they showed their pictures, and they looked beautiful. They looked like total 80s Jersey girls, and I could absolutely understand why she would have wanted to have the big hair and the nails and the makeup and, the jewelry, because her big sisters were doing it back then. So she confirms that she's throwing this big roller skating 80s party, and that she is inviting everybody, including Teresa. She doesn't want to leave her out. And Joe's like, well, it's just so good of you because, Teresa's excluded you. She's excluding you from being a bridesmaid. And Melissa's like, yeah, you know, I texted her after the reunion with no response. And they show the text and it's just Melissa saying, look, I'm not going to blame you for being friends with Jen. I don't want you to get mad at me for being friends with Margaret. And, you know, Teresa didn't respond to that. But then they get a text message from Teresa, like, I don't know how many weeks later, saying, hey, come to my birthday party. And Melissa and Joe don't answer it because they're like, you didn't even respond to our text when I tried to make up with you after that explosive reunion. Remember, Joe walks off the set, he quits. Andy's like, Joe, get back here. Come on, come back to the stage. And, you know, Joe's like, be a sister for once. And like, they're having this problem. She called him a bitch boy, or actually Jen called him a bitch boy. Teresa agreed. So it was, you know, tumultuous. I want to discuss this bridesmaid thing. I think we'll have plenty of time. I'm not going to get too deep on it, but it's like, Melissa, you don't like her? Why would she have you stand up there with her? You guys are not close. You literally said it at the reunion that you guys are not close. Why would you be a bridesmaid? Yeah, Louis' sisters are in it because those are his sisters. This is his wedding as well. He asked Teresa. Teresa gets along with them and she's putting them in her wedding. You and Teresa don't get along, so she should have just put you in her wedding for show. Because when you got married to Joe, when Teresa was, 9 months pregnant, and you didn't move your wedding for her, she wasn't a bridesmaid either. So just saying, I think like they're trying to really like, oh, you know, your only brother's wife. I don't think that's necessarily the norm. There's other ways to be included. Like, I don't need to be a bridesmaid at 40 years old. Listen, I'm going to do my duty. I don't want to say that in an offensive way because I have some friends and cousins and you know, people who haven't got married. And if they want me to stand up there with them, I absolutely will. But like, if you've ever been a bridesmaid, it is taxing sometimes. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of time. And you do it because you love the bride and the groom. But if you don't want me to be one and I could just be a guest and I can go and just drink and I could still go to the bachelorette party and the bridal shower and all that stuff, honey, I'm doing that. So Melissa, like, knock it off. So, you know, they're just basically saying that this just proves that, you know, Teresa's a bad person, you know, whatever, because Teresa's keeping it real and not having your fake ass in her wedding, okay, as far as I'm concerned. So meanwhile, we go back to Tree. She is turning 50. They've got it set up with all the beautiful balloons and, you know, the beautiful balloon arches that everybody's doing these days. They're making a lot of money on that. And they're preparing food. They're making, there was some meat on the grill. Louis making his pizza. I'm gonna tell you, like, we already know Teresa can cook, but Louis can cook and it just looks so good. I want me a pizza oven so bad. If you have one, comment down below how you like it, which brand you have. And you know, they briefly touch on Joe and Melissa. And Louis like, you know, are they coming? And he's like, you know, Teresa's like, no, they're not coming. They can't make it. They have plans. But, you know, they did send flowers. We saw it was beautiful. And Louis basically, he kind of goes off. He's like, you know, they're childish. They're selfish. They're immature. This is weak of him. He's like using his time to say everything about Joe. I don't think that's right. This is on camera. This isn't very positive, Louis, to kind of help foster, but he's calling it like he sees it. I do think, you know, Joe and Melissa are, I would say they're very jealous. I don't know how immature. I guess you can't be jealous without having immaturity and insecurity and all of those things tacked into one. So they go off, but Louis' family comes and it's his mom, his dad, his sisters, and they seem to really love Teresa. They, you know, she's very happy to welcome them into her home. They all sit down at a beautiful table, a beautiful floral centerpiece, and they exchange gifts. And Teresa tells her girls, you know, I am so happy that, you know, you guys are sisters. I never want you to fight like me and your uncles. And I think it's, Melania is like, oh, that'll never happen to us. We'll never do that. It'll never be us. And I'm like, Teresa's like, good. I'm glad to hear that. She's like, you know, take a page out of me and my brother's book. Don't do this. So the next scene, if you will, or actually, no, I want to take it a little further. You know, Teresa does really say that Louis' family is filling a void that she has. And it's honestly sad that's the case because Joe and Teresa have a small family. And we've heard about Teresa's dad. We know he was a very prideful man. He could hold a grudge. We know she fell out with Kathy and Rosie and them. And, you know, so it was just her and Joe. I mean, and then obviously she's got her ex-husband, Joe Giudice's family. And I'm pretty sure, you know, because she's got 4 kids with Joe, she we'll still see Joe's family, okay? But she's got a new husband now. That's going to be her main, her main unit. And so to have them welcoming her in a way that maybe she hasn't felt, or maybe she did feel welcomed by Joe's family, but things are different. They're divorced. She's never spoken ill of them, but I'm happy for her that she has that. But I'm interested to see, obviously, a little bit more of that dynamic. And then we get over here to Melissa's birthday party. Now, it is an 80s themed party, and I actually have a little something I'm gonna wear for this scene because I had this visor that I got last Halloween and I didn't wear. Actually, no, it wasn't Halloween. I went to a, what's it called? A Barbie party. It was like my friend's 40th Barbie party. Jen, if you're watching, hey. So I bought this because I was gonna be like 80s Barbie or something, but I ended up like doing something different. This is like a mess. My hair is a mess. But anyways, I'm gonna wear this visor during this. Okay, so they all start arriving. We're seeing everybody rolling in. Everybody looks really great. Frank and Brittany get there. Now Brittany's Frank Sr.'s like 33-year-old girlfriend. There's like a 30-year age gap. Frank Sr.'s like 58 or something. He looks great, obviously. Let's see, Melissa comes, Marge Sr. is there. Everyone is arriving and everyone looks really cute and for the most part is dressed in theme. Marge and Melissa, Marge is there. She comes up to Melissa and they kind of start discussing, their standings with Teresa. Marge is like, have you talked to her? Melissa's like, no, I haven't talked to her. She's supposed to come. She said she would. Asked Marge the same thing. Marge is just like, well, she treated me terrible last year. She treated me terrible at the reunion. What she did, they had a really bad row of it at the reunion. There was several shut the F up, you stupid bee, Margaret. And, we know Teresa threw food at her. I mean, they had a rough season last year. And we get Teresa walking in looking amazing. Louis is not dressed up and Joe is not happy about that. Teresa does go up to say hi to Joe, but I did not notice her that whole time of the birthday actually say anything to Melissa, which I'm like, it's Melissa's birthday, Teresa. Like, you should go and do the fake hi, how are you? And do the kissy thing, whatever. Now, really exciting. We meet the first new housewife they've added. They've added 3 new housewives. We get Jen Fessler, I think was her name. To me, honestly, she seems cool. I think her connection is Margaret. Wasn't much that scene, but she was cool. Like, I kind of liked her. She said one funny comment. They were skiing, but or not skiing, excuse me. They were skating. They were at a skating rink. I don't know if I said that. They're at a skating rink. And she did say, well, I'm going to sit my fat ass down. She's not fat, but I just thought it was funny because she was like, look, I'm not breaking anything. Because guess what? That was a good idea because Margaret is skating and ends up falling hard on her butt. Of course, breaks her fall on her wrist and ends up, she thinks broke her wrist. And we find out later in the episode that she actually did indeed break her wrist. So Tree comes up and actually says hi to Margaret. They have like a quick hello. Tree acknowledges that she was like super reactive last time she saw Margaret and she doesn't like it. And she's been working on it in therapy and that she does indeed want to talk to Margaret. We then go straight into meeting the second housewife, which is Danielle Cabral. And I think her connection is Teresa, or she might know one of the other ladies too. But apparently Teresa's like, I've known her for a long time. Her stepmom, this is confusing. Her stepmom was married to Caroline Manzo's brother. So I'm like, her brother's not obviously Caroline. Her dad is not Caroline Manzo's brother because she would have been like, this is Caroline Manzo's niece. So don't know how that is. Maybe her dad was married to this woman at one point. They divorced. She still kept in touch with her stepmom, which I think is fantastic. You divorce people, not kids. I learned that from the movie Clueless. And anyway, she knows Teresa. She's like, I'm a Staten Island girl. And it's funny because she actually was on if you guys remember True Life, MTV's True Life, which I think really inspired a lot of these other spinoff type shows, especially the Jersey Shore. But she was on True Life, I'm from Staten Island. And I've seen that episode. I'm going to go back and rewatch it. But she has 2 kids. She's married. She's got a son named Dominic and a daughter named Valentina. Her daughter's super sassy. She's like, I need to reel that one in because if she gets any older, I'm going to have to. I'm like, you know what? I heard that. You start now. You don't wait till they get teenagers and they're cursing you out. No, you handle it now. She's like in love with her husband. She described him as a walking Adonis. She said she's the boss of the family. Her kids always look impeccable with the hair. I thought she was really like, she was doing a lot of this in her confessional and stuff. And she was really energetic. I thought, to be honest, some people might think like, okay, she was doing too much. I thought she was great, to be honest. I thought she had good energy. She's very, I know she's from Staten Island, but she's given Jersey. I think she seems like a good fit so far. And I'll talk, I'll recap that a little at the end, but to me, she seems like she fit in really well with everybody. Like it wasn't awkward. I wasn't like, who is she? Because we got a couple scenes of Tracy and like Tracy just didn't fit in with them from last year. So whatever. I like what I see so far. I mean, obviously like we just got a little bit, but I kind of like that they are introducing us to these girls first episode. It was a little chaotic for me when I was watching the skating scene because there was so much going on. You've got all these colors, you've got people zipping around skating, you've got Jennifer on her scooter crying about Margaret not talking, or crying about Dolores not talking to her. You've got all this tension, and then there's new people, and I'm like, wait, who? What's the name? Like they're just saying it real fast. So it took me a minute. Then we get the third new housewife, which is Rachel. I don't think I got her last name. And it looks like her connection is Dolores. One thing I'll say, she was born in 1991. So she's one of the younger housewives in this franchise. So still at the bowling alley, we get Dolores coming to have a seat down with Joe, and Frank is there. And, she's just kind of just talking about how, her Paul's not here because he's not feeling well. Frank's like, well, I hope I get to still hang out. And he kind of uses this as an opportunity to compare what he's going through with Dolores to what Joe is going to with Teresa, which is not the same. Dolores knows this family for a really long time. So she just, really encourages Joe to like kind of be open to talking. Then we have a quick little scene of Teresa talking to the new Jen. And they're speaking about Marge, and Teresa's like, I actually do want to talk to Margaret. I'm going to invite her over to talk. So she does she, oh yeah. So Teresa grabs Margaret right then and there and is like, look, I want to invite you over. I want to have you come to the house, bring Joe. It's going to be fine. Margaret's like, oh, so what do you want to do? You want to like invite me over, feed me, and then bury me? And Teresa's like, no, you're safe. Come on over. And then Rachel and Teresa have like a quick little scene where they both discuss how Italian they are. I thought that was funny. Then we get Dolores and Jennifer Aiden. So apparently Dolores tried to talk to Jennifer Aiden twice, and each time Jennifer Aiden ran away, which I'm like, I don't know. I feel like the whole episode, Jen was crying about how Dolores hasn't talked to her and how she's so hurt by Dolores. So Dolores basically is like, look, just inviting them to this event with her, that she's inviting them to the charity shoot. Last year she did that softball thing. So she's inviting her back to that. She's inviting all the husbands to do a photo shoot prior to the actual softball game. And I wasn't sure. I'm like, is this like a calendar shoot or whatever? But I don't know. I might have missed that, honestly. Like I said, there was a lot going on, you guys. I even feel like wearing this, I'm like all over the place. Like it's just that whole scene, I had to watch it twice because I was like, it's just so much for me. I can't, like, if I was there in person, I would have been just like looking around. It was a lot of people in costumes. It's like a lot going on. So everyone says, yes, we'll go. Then party's over. We are back at Margaret's house. She's getting ready to go to Teresa's, and it's confirmed that her wrist is broken. We also get Teresa and Louie in the kitchen, and they're reflecting basically on the fact that Margaret's coming over, and Teresa's like essentially saying, I want to be a better person. I don't want to be so reactive. She's like, I'm just like my father. If he was mad, if he did something, he would just pick up a loaf of bread and just throw it. And I think, that's just like that old school, hearing that now, someone's like, my parents threw a piece of bread at me, people would be calling CPS. But listen, her dad was very passionate, reactive. And I see that in both of his kids. I see it in Joe. I see it in Teresa. I mean, Joe's first scene, the christening, hello, like iconic, honestly. So she's like, I don't want to be like that. I didn't like myself after the reunion. And you guys, people can say Teresa never apologizes, she's this and she's that, but I feel like she's extremely reflective and she doesn't like it. Like, it's not a good look. She's 50, she's got 4 daughters. Like, she's got to start thinking beyond the housewives and making herself marketable too. So I think she really is realizing, like, look, I got to do things differently. Okay. And hopefully it's not just because of money and marketing and things like that. Hopefully it's because she genuinely had a good connection with Margaret. So Margaret arrives. It's really pleasant in the beginning. And then they start, getting into it. Why they're both hurt. They're both hurt. Well, you hurt me because of this, and Teresa's like, Margaret, you wouldn't stop bringing up Louis' past. And Margaret's like, well, we really were concerned. Teresa's like, I didn't care about that. I did not care. Margaret's like, well, if you had told me you were hurt. Teresa's like, I did, which is true. Teresa told her over and over again, you are my friend. Stop it. Stop hurting me. I will say though, obviously, this is a television show. There's producers, there's people in the ear. You can't just stop talking about stuff unless you're like on Potomac or unless you're, on the Salt Lake and you don't want to talk about things and you don't want to get in Jen Shaw's face about the obvious. But Margaret kept pushing it. That was the storyline. Let's drag Teresa down. Teresa wanted nothing to do with it because she was in her love bubble. And no, Margaret didn't have to take the bait. She could have dropped it and just been like, look, I'm not going to do it, right? She could have dropped it. Well, regardless of how hurt Teresa was, Margaret was like, look, you scared me, okay? At the bottom line, you scared me. And Teresa just straight up apologizes to her. She apologizes. She's like, look, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I don't want to be that person. So Margaret acknowledges that, people don't change overnight. She hopes that this is genuine, but she also is very, it sounds like she's going to, lead with caution. So the next day, or well, not the next day, the next scene, we get oh, wait, what else happens? Oh, Margaret brings up Teresa and Joe. She brings up Joe and Teresa. She mentions, how they should have had her back. Teresa says, what she was really upset about is when she sent that text message that Melissa actually read the text message to everybody. Louis then starts calling Melissa insecure. I'm not quite sure what he means by that, except to maybe Melissa feels insecure about her role in the show. So she needs to continue to bring up, I don't know, just drama for Teresa. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I do think Melissa was insecure about Teresa's fame at some point, but now Melissa has her own. But I think their whole issue stemmed from jealousy. Okay, they wanted on the show so bad, they wanted to be famous, and she wants Joe to herself. So yeah, she's insecure of Teresa. You're not going to agree with that. I'll have plenty more weeks to plead my case on that, so I won't go too deep. But Teresa's like, at the end of the day, show me love. Show me that you love me. And she brings up to Margaret, like when my mother passed and you did that beautiful tribute. Were they in Hawaii? Were they when they sent the flowers? She's like, that is showing me you love me, not reading a text message. You're my family. So overall, they made it better that day. There's apologies. She wants her to come to the wedding. So day of the photo shoot, most of the guys are participating. We learned that Frank Sr. is sick. They didn't say I'm not sure if he had the C word or if he had something else, but it sounds pretty serious. But let's see, Joe, Margaret's husband's participating. He's on a motorcycle. Louis doing like the yoga. Joey Gorga, who's there, I think avoids Teresa. He says hi, but it's like really like avoids her. I don't remember what Rachel's husband's there too. Don't remember what he did. Danielle's husband comes. She was like his biggest cheerleader, like cheering him on. And then you've got Paul comes and he does like an Irish like a photo shoot. And you've got Evan actually. Evan was looking good. I know my cousin thinks Evan is like so fine, and I'm just like, I don't think of him like that. I don't know, but he looked good. His body he looked really good. I was like, okay, Evan. Because yeah, Jackie was there, and I'm gonna talk about Jackie and her little scene later. But so they're all, enjoying themselves. It's relatively going smooth, kind of fun, seeing your guys dressing up in costumes and taking these pictures. And then, of course, Margaret, she can't wait to go run into the kitchen and tell Melissa and Joe about her meeting at Teresa's. So she's like, I was at Teresa's and, she really apologized. And, they're like, oh, okay, that's good. And she goes, and then I asked her, why can't you show the same courtesy that you're giving me to Melissa? And she basically tells Melissa about the meeting and that, they called her like jealous and the text message and all that stuff, or insecure. And Melissa's like flipping them off. And of course she's offended, and I completely understand why she was offended by that. And then let's see what else happens. I'm just looking through my notes. Oh, okay. So Jennifer Aydin is telling anybody who will listen that Dolores will not talk to her. There's also a quick little scene where Rachel, the one with the dark hair, Rachel, she's hearing she's hearing Jennifer Aydin talk about the problem, and she's like, well, don't you think you're a little hypocritical because you were judging Margaret for cheating and then your husband went and cheated? And I want to say Jennifer Aydin, in my opinion, is not a hypocrite for judging Margaret for cheating. I mean, it's not right to judge anybody, right? But Jen had a problem with it because she's been cheated on. It's not the same. Margaret was the one breaking the vows. Jen's husband is the one who broke the vows. Jennifer's not a hypocrite. She has the same stance. She was upset with her husband. She's upset with Margaret for doing that. So I don't think that's fair. Jen's not a hypocrite. What she is someone who went through it and just neglected to even share that she has experienced it on the other side, to give a perspective of like, Margaret, you're bragging about, this love affair, but you hurt people in the process. However, we know that Margaret and Jan are fine, her ex-husband. Margaret is married to Joe, but Margaret has paid the price. Her stepchildren seemingly don't speak to her anymore because of how she hurt their father. So there was, she didn't get out of it, scotch-free. Now, finally, Marge and Dolores talk, and honestly, it just went to shit really fast. I don't even know. It was like 2 words said, and then it just was this big, no, you're mean. No, you're the bad person. No, you're even worse. And then, oh yeah, but you called me the C word. And you know how Jen gets, okay, F her. And Bill calmly dragging his wife out of there. And she's like, no, and you stop telling me to stop it. And I was like, you know what, Jen, yes, because I'm tired of Bill also sitting here all innocent and quiet. But they leave. She calls Dolores, tells Dolores she looks like a handbag. Jen's got a mouth on her, Jen Aydin. She's something else. And that's pretty much how it ends. It literally ends like that, okay? That was episode 1. I think overall it was a decent episode. I feel like there wasn't one scene that Melissa and Joe didn't mention Teresa. But I also know that producers and such tell them to talk about these things. But let's just kind of, do me a favor, you guys, kind of just clock it. Like, how many scenes does Joe and Melissa have where they don't bring up their only storyline, which is hating Teresa? Let's see how many scenes Teresa has where she's like not talking about them. Like, let's just see how that goes, okay? I like all the new people so far. I think it's really good casting so far. It seems very natural. They seem to know each other. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't forced. Nobody tried to like outdo it. Even when the girls even intervened, well, you guys should talk. You should talk to her. Nobody got crazy. So I like the new people so far. There was one little moment where Rachel was talking to Melissa, literally talking to Melissa because it was about Melissa. And Jackie, who, has been reduced to a friend of status, was like, hello, I'm standing right here. You haven't looked at me once this conversation. And, it's just social, courtesy or whatever, okay, I'm talking to Melissa. It's about Melissa. I thought that was weird. It's like, Jackie, like, you're over here fighting for screen time. It was really pathetic, honestly. Sorry, Jackie supporters. But so far so good. I'm excited to see what else happens this season, and it's gonna be a wild ride. So To wrap it up, I'm going to give this episode for premiere, I'm going to give it like a B- rating. I think it did okay, and I'm looking forward to it. Again, I love how they introduced all the new people right away. I don't need to meet them in 3 episodes from now and some fake, like, I don't know. I just thought it was, Melissa's having a party, everyone's coming to this party. And I think that worked out really well. Even if it was like they didn't know each other, it just, they meshed well together. So I'm excited to see how this turns out. So once again, leave a comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And I'm again just looking forward to this season. Have a good night.